Welcome back. Joining me now is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Senator Graham, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start with the big story, the Middle East. Again, just heard me talking about it with both of my prior guests. On this program in July, Senator, you said, quote, there's no way you're going to negotiate an end of this war with Hamas. Do you believe that this deal will bring a lasting peace in Gaza?
Well, I hope so. And I said in July. Now, what happened since July to now, basically, is that the IDF has obliterated Hamas as we know it. So hats off to Witkoff and Jared and the president. The Arabs came in unlike any time before to push for the ceasefire. The Israelis have accepted things they had not accepted before. But the ceasefire is coming. There's a perfect storm for peace brewing in the Mideast. But whether or not Hamas will disarm, whether or not there will be control of Gaza after the ceasefire that we can all live with is a very big question. There are three pieces of the puzzle. Iran, which is the weakest they've been since 1979. The Arabs, which are closer to Trump than any time I can remember in the Mideast, closeness to a president. And Israel, who trusts Trump a lot. So all these things fall together, but there'll never be peace in the Mideast until you deal with Hezbollah and Lebanon and the Houthis, because they're proxies of Iran. But I'm excited about tomorrow. This will be a great day to get the hostages away from their bondage and their torture, and hopefully that will build to a lasting peace, but we have a long way to go. I still don't trust Hamas any further than I can throw them.
Yeah, well, Senator, as you lay this out, there are still a lot of complicated steps that need to be taken. President Trump's 20-point plan, as you know, opens the door for Palestinian statehood. But Prime Minister Netanyahu said this. He said, quote, we are firmly opposed to a Palestinian state, even after signing the plan. So, Senator, let me ask you, does Israel need to accept a two-state solution in order for any peace to be enduring?
To my friends in Israel, there will not be normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel unless we come up with a plan to allow the Palestinians to have an independent, sovereign country that doesn't threaten Israel. To my Western European friends and allies, there'll never be a Palestinian state after October the 7th as previously envisioned. The borders will have to change to make sure Israel's never attacked again. It won't be a state. It will be more like an emirate. It will probably be a protectorate of Saudi Arabia. But to those who want to annex the West Bank, if you tried to do that in Israel, you'd blow all this up. To those who want to push a state on Israel as if October the 7th never happened, you're going to fail miserably. But I do believe there's a pathway forward to an independent, sovereign Palestine that Israel can accept and live with, but that's going to take a lot of work, and none of that's possible until you get rid of Hezbollah, because Hezbollah will do the same thing in the future to blow this up as Hamas did in the past. So you got to keep Iran in the box.
All right, I do want to turn to another war that President Trump has been focused on trying to end, the war in Ukraine, of course. Senator, it has been 58 days now since President Trump and President Putin met in Alaska. Russia has only stepped up its attacks against Ukraine. On Saturday, President Zelensky renewed his plea to President Trump for long-range missiles. Do you believe the United States should supply more weapons to Ukraine right now, including those Tomahawk long-range missiles?
Absolutely. I want more weapons in the hands of the Ukrainians to increase the cost of the war to Putin, hit his refineries, go into Russia deep, and be able to destroy his oil infrastructure. He cannot prosecute this war, Putin, without oil and gas revenue. There's two ways to deal with that. Have the Ukrainians use military force to degrade his ability to produce and sell oil, but also to go to the international community, China, India, and Brazil, and have them stop buying cheap Russian oil. President Trump put a 25% tariff on India for buying cheap Russian oil, which keeps the war going. I hope the Europeans will follow his lead and will focus on China next. Until you deal with the revenue that Putin gets from oil and gas, this war won't end. But long-range missiles will change the calculation militarily, and we need to go after Putin's customers in a strong way. Secondly, we don't talk enough about this. There are 19,000 plus children being kidnapped by Russia in the occupied territories. Our First Lady, Melania, has been talking to the Russians, and 6 children have been released. I want to tell you today on your program that on October the 22nd, a couple of weeks from now, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee will mark up my bill along with many others, making Russia a state sponsor of terrorism under United States law unless they release these almost 20,000 children. We're going to do that October the 22nd. And as to my sanctions bill with 85 co-sponsors allowing the president to tariff people who buy cheap Russian oil, I want to vote on that, a designated date for a vote by the end of October to put more pressure.
All right, a lot of news, and you heard it here first. Senator, thank you for that. I want to turn to the big issue facing Congress back at home. Of course, the Trump administration this week announcing mass layoffs in the face of this shutdown. Thousands of federal employees impacted. Your Republican colleague, Senator Lisa Murkowski, called the layoffs punitive and said they would hurt hard-working Americans. Senator, do you support these mass layoffs, which are not required under the rules of a shutdown?
I think JD got it right. When you don't have any really money come in, you got to make some decisions. I'm glad we're trying to find a way to pay the military. But what about the FBI? What about the CIA? What about the Secret Service? You know, we shut the government down for 35 days, Republicans, trying to force the Democrats to build the border wall. Well, we eventually got the wall built, but not because we shut down the government. The subsidies that we're talking about here, if the Affordable Care Act is so affordable, why every time I turn around are we spending $350 billion to keep it afloat? Whether the government shut down or not, I'm not going to vote to extend these subsidies without great reform. And to my Democratic colleagues like Mark Kelly, who I like a lot, I'm not going to talk to you with the government shut down.
Well, Senator, though, going back to this idea of layoffs, you talked about that shutdown back in 2019, 35 days, no workers were laid off. Why is it necessary now when it wasn't necessary then? Is this anything more than a political ploy?
Yeah, well, you had 4 years of Biden where the government grew in a bunch of areas. It got very kind of out of line with common sense. So I think Trump's going to look at a chance to clean up the mess that Biden created in terms of growing the federal government, putting in policies in the federal government that we don't like that can only survive if you have people implementing the policies. Yeah. I don't want anybody to lose their job because of a shutdown. I hate it when people get furloughed. I hate it the military can't get paid, the FBI. I hate all that. I'm willing to vote to open the government up tomorrow. To my Democratic friends, I am not going to vote to extend these subsidies. It costs $350 billion. If you make over $400,000, you get subsidies for your health care. Let's have a rational discussion, but not with the government shut down. It's up to you. If you want to keep it shut down, fine. It's not going to change how I approach health care.
Let me finally ask you about these indictments that we have seen, the indictment against Letitia James and James Comey as well. NBC News again has confirmed that that post that President Trump put on Truth Social was actually meant to be a private message to Pam Bondi. Do you think it's appropriate for the president to direct his attorney general to indict whoever he says?
Well, I think it's appropriate for Comey to answer for his conduct. 5 years ago at a hearing we had in 2020 when I asked him, why didn't you tell the court about exculpatory information where the CIA gave a memo to Strzok and Comey saying there was intel that Hillary Clinton's campaign was creating the false narrative that Russia and Trump were working together. The man who created the Steele dossier recanted it in February, and Comey kept using the document to get warrants. So, yeah, I think the grand jury is doing the right thing. And Trump got indicted 91 times, 3 days after he announced for president in February 15th, 2020.
But, Senator, I'm asking...
got 91 indictments in foreign jurisdictions.
But, Senator, I'm asking about right now, and this sitting president's actions right now. It's worth noting that James
Well, the
Comey and
grand jury indicted him, not,
James Comey and Letitia James have said that they have both said that they are innocent of these crimes that they've been accused of. But, Senator, very quickly,
they'll have a chance to prove it.
To the appearance, though, Senator, the fact that President Trump publicly called for his attorney general to indict people. Do you think that crosses a line between the Justice Department being independent from the executive branch?
I think our Justice Department in the hands of Biden crossed every line there is to cross. I think within 3 days of announcing he was going to run for president in 2024, he did that in 2022.
But what about Trump?
He had 91
Senator, what about
indictments.
Trump? What about?
Now, I think the grand jury is going to take care of this, but you didn't care any about this. You didn't care that Letitia James made up charges that no one's ever faced.
But Senator Biden never publicly called for Trump to be indicted.
He had 90. Biden regretted that they didn't do it before the election. Jack Smith surveilled my phone records and 8 other senators. Jack Smith introduced his brief against Trump October the 24th before the 2024 election, violating every protocol just to politicize the election. So this may bother you that people are being held accountable. It doesn't bother me one damn bit.
And you're referencing the fact that the FBI obtained what has been referred to as basic information, date, time, length of calls. Senator, we covered a lot of ground.
2 weeks before the election.
Thank you. Senator, we covered a lot of ground, as we always do. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.